Our team at Atlantic Construction Podcast is excited to announce our newest partner, Luminous Labs. Luminous Labs is the leading provider of architectural visualizations for developers, homeowners, architects, and more. Luminous Labs has a team of experienced designers and visualizers using cutting-edge technology to bring your 3D renderings to life. Using these architectural visualizations will give you a sense of scale, space, and design, allowing you to make informed decisions about your projects before construction even begins. These high-end architectural visualizations are a perfect tool for presentations, marketing materials, and design reviews, allowing you to communicate your vision to stakeholders, clients, and more. This episode is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Pizant Building Products. Pizant Building Products has been providing contractors and builders with the supplies necessary to complete their jobs since 1964. They have built a reputation of honest, helpful, and quality service, serving the HRM for the last 58 years, now with 7 locations in Nova Scotia and 1 in New Brunswick. Our team at Atlantic Construction Podcast is extremely excited to announce our new co-branded partner, Procore. Procore is the global leader in construction management software. We'll be conducting several podcast episodes with Procore users and construction companies across the country in 2023, among many other things. Stay tuned. We're excited. Okay, welcome back to the Atlantic Construction Podcast. Excited to have our guest today, a gentleman over from New Brunswick with Century Exteriors. We have Jeremy Mean, founder and president, and Jason Thomas, project manager. So thanks, gentlemen, for joining us today. Excited to have a conversation with you guys.
Yeah, really appreciate the call and look forward to the conversation. It's listened to a couple of the broadcasts in the past and see you guys are doing awesome things, and it's a pleasure to be on with you.
Appreciate that, Jeremy. We usually kick things off by just giving a little context, a little backstory. You were sharing earlier, Jeremy, just a little bit about your journey there with working on some of the penitentiaries in central Canada to start off your career on site, and maybe you could just kind of give our guests a little.
Yeah, sure. So it was early after high school. My wife and I, my wife now, girlfriend at the time, moved to Toronto. Took the big leap at the age of 19, jumped in the old Civic car and headed for Toronto with, we had a relative there, moved in with them for 2 weeks trying to find an apartment to live in. Ended up finding one, and then, worked for Steelgate Security and working on some of the larger penitentiaries that was being built at the time, kind of copy of I believe they're following after the American standard that kind of get brought up. But doing a lot of, I said work for Steelgate Security, but doing a lot of glazing inside the cells or out in the guard areas, and
bulletproof glass.
Yeah, bulletproof glass. Yeah. I had a pretty interesting. Yeah, it's heavy stuff. Yeah. I think a lot of the general contractors were like PCL and Elliston, and there was like 4 of them happening at this pretty well around the same time between Milton, Lindsay, Penetang, and it was just actually it wasn't too long ago, and I was having a meeting with the general contractor, and PCL was there from Ontario, and I had said that I worked for Steelgate Security and knew Charlie, who's the owner, and he's like, oh man, we do work with Charlie all the time. So it was kind of interesting to be able to sit down there in PCL and Steelgate. So, but yeah, no, then we after that we worked there for a year, put a lot of hours in. Didn't really live at home much. I was basically on the job site and working 7 days a week, and then moved back to Moncton after a year, and took the civil engineering structural division, did a work term with Vic West, had an option to after school was either go back to Vic West or head back to Ontario for Can-Am. I had offers from both, and
Were you doing sales for Vic West, or were you
estimating? So when I went there for the work term, it was they just put me right into a project that had already been started and just worked along with it. And it was Paul Fournier, who's probably well known within the building envelope. He took me under his wing, and I learned a lot of stuff from Paul. It was just recently, I think like last year or something, he retired. But
Okay.
been with he started with Vic West right out of civil or right out of community college as well, and worked right there until retirement. And great guy.
So is this a guy who kind of like took you under his wing and showed?
Yeah. So I think at one time there it was just him and I. That was there was people that had came and gone, and worked with Ron Legier, who's with the ATEC there in Fredericton, and Al Colpitz, who is with Metaclad.
Okay.
Just some really great guys, and learned a lot of stuff, and working with them doing. So when I started there, like right now in our company, we have it kind of broke up with estimating and drafting, and we have coordinators and project managers. Well, when I was there at Vic West, I mean, we did everything on paper, and and I did, my job was to do the drafting and sometimes, I mean, depending
Like
on the size of the job, hand sketching. Yeah. Sometimes, depending on the job, they would send it up to head office there in Oakville, and the draftsman would take it and draw it. But so we would draft it, we would, coordinate, order all the supplies, follow through with projects. But Vic West at the time was, they would subcontract all the labor. So I didn't have to manage that part as much. It was, the guys came in, gave us a price for the work, went out and did it. But yeah, after like 2 years being there, having the subcontractors in the field, the guys were they were older guys, and I could see an opportunity of, I understood it. I could visualize what I was estimating. Because I my dad was into carpentry, and so I just grew up with, building tree houses from the time I was young, and could, handle the tools, and then I could visualize it. So it just made sense for me to go out, and so I started doing install work for them.
Right.
And then it just it took off from there. Yeah.
So Century started with the service of cladding, supply, and install.
Yeah.
And then slowly
we started with just doing install work for Vic West.
Right.
So it was a number of years that we just did install for them as a subcontractor.
Which is typical when you're kind of entering into that realm and scope, unless you have a bit of capital for all those big material supplies.
That's right.
Expensive stuff.
But it grew from there for sure.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
So what about you, Jason? I know you were saying earlier you just kind of recently came on with Century to grow the roofing division, and with the GC before. And
I sort of the same path as Jeremy took. I came out of high school, went to MBCC, took mechanical engineering technology. Had an instructor there. Last day before we graduated, he said, everything you learn, he said, throw it out the window because you'll never use it. And
was he right?
He was right. Yeah, I graduated with an HVAC background, and I went to work for a food processing company in Western New Brunswick. Spent 18 years there. So started out as a draftsman, worked my way into a project coordinator position, and sort of being part of the owner representation. You've seen everything, right? Like you dealt with electrical, you dealt with mechanical, civil, roofing, everything. So
a good perspective.
So I got as I went into project management, that's the path I wanted to take. Coming fresh out of school, that seemed like the cool way to go. They were doing all the meetings, getting all the dinners and all the good stuff, right? They seem to have a lot more fun than sitting at the CAD all day.
Sometimes it looks better than it actually is.
Yeah, it does. So that's why I sort of pushed my way through, and I eventually ended up staying out west for a couple of years in Portage la Prairie, and got into the project management side. Come back and worked for corporate engineering, and traveled around the world. I've seen all the hot spots in Canada that grows potatoes. Carberry and Portage and Lethbridge, and I spent a year in northern China as a project team member building the French fry plant, and then spent a little bit of time in India developing a French fry plant. So I ended up
very cool.
Yeah, so for 18 years I was on the road all the time, and then took a step back, and I went and worked in PEI for equipment manufacturer. Supposed to slow me down and spend some time with my family, but I ended up on the road again. The company was leaning towards doing a turnkey systems for people. So I ended up in Idaho and for almost a year and a half, and then I went out and tried some contracting for telecommunication company and mechanical electrical company. Spent a couple of years in Newfoundland off and on, and then kids graduated. They wanted to stay in PEI, and then we ended up coming back to start working our way back to New Brunswick. And I got probably about a year and a half, 2 years working for in the glazing side of things. I worked for a manufacturer on the island that did their own glazing, supplied it.
Yeah.
And ended up working for a company in Fredericton. Sort of wasn't really doing project management at the time. I was more estimating, and then I sort of said I'd like to get back into the project management side, and I went and worked for a GC for 4 years.
Just to get back out.
Just to get back out there and looking for something that kept me home out every night. And so I ended up spending 4 years building apartment buildings. So, and then through our connections, I dealt a lot with Arrow through for suppliers and stuff, and developed some friendships. And then I sort of got heard about the opportunity with Jeremy, and we were sort of starting to look back to move back upriver. So started engaging in talks and come into the roofing business. So, but I guess in the meantime there, I did work for a roofing company for a year, running a couple branches for them, and got exposed to that. But same with Jeremy, my dad, and I got an uncle that's in the roofing business. So I mean, I was exposed to it at 14. My parents said, "You're going to go out and work," and I ended up working for my uncle, tearing off roofs, running the tar pots, and then when I had to go to college, I had earned some money, so that was the best paying job around. I mean, $15-16 an hour for an 18-year-old. So I ended up spending a year there, summers doing working on the roofs. I was exposed to it, and just all my career working for corporate or working for GC, you're involved in all aspects. So I ended up spending a lot of time on the roofing side as well. So. So it was a good opportunity I seen it as an opportunity to build something, right? So I said it'd be nice to get in there and build it and from the ground up. And that's what I enjoyed about project management. It was you always were involved from the design right to the finish, and
you see it come to life.
Yeah, you see it come to life. You're involved, and I said this is a good opportunity to build something. And Jeremy had a good vision, and I said I like that, and I like the material that he was proposing to use. Like the roofing system. So after a few cocktails with my buddy out the lake from Arrow, he said you should go for it. So I ended up going for it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Thanks for sharing some background there. Maybe we could just talk a little bit for our listeners, a little context on Century Exteriors, just like practically the operations, what it looks like. You got 3 locations, one in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. Do you do a lot of prefab in-house with like just?
Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, our production is mainly out of the head office there in Woodstock. So in Woodstock, we have our drafting department, our programming department for the CNCs and things. And then, we have our safety, HR, and then the local project managers, coordinators for New Brunswick. And in the fabrication side of things, we buy all of our galvanized stock or painted stock, and to make our subframing components. And then
coming from Central Canada somewhere, right?
Yeah. We normally bring it out of Ontario. Ontario is typically where it comes from.
Fabricate all that ACM in the shop.
So all the trims and subframing gets fabricated there on the shear and the brake, and then we have our CNC table that is an Axis CNC and 20-foot table, so we can produce quite a few ACM panels. And then in Newfoundland, it's project management coordinating, and we do have a shop there that's assembling the panels, because one of the projects that we're doing right now in Nova Scotia, who is with Marco, is the NAMHAF project over there. So we fabricate all the panels as far as cutting them, all the components, put it on a truck, send it over to Newfoundland, and then in the shop over there, the guys assemble it. Because if we start assembling, then it's, the packaging and freight becomes a lot more, it's a lot more expensive, and you can't get as much on the truck. So over there in Newfoundland, then we do have a fabrication team over there as well that's fabricating and building some of the, cutting and doing some of the custom panels on corners to fit, or, different detail areas that need a custom panel. They'll fabricate it there. And then here in Nova Scotia, it's not that far. We have guys traveling back and forth, so a lot of our product is still made in New Brunswick and just ship down. Although, that is Nova Scotia is definitely the market for us to be, trying to really develop and continue to build, strong relationships with GCs and owners to expand here in Nova Scotia for sure, because we could be doing that fabrication that we're doing in New Brunswick definitely could be done here.
Yeah.
And then in the office side of here, it's project managers and coordinators here. But again, when we're looking in the struggle of finding even office staff, whether it's drafting or project management or coordinating, we have a bigger pool of people here in Nova Scotia than like I said, at Woodstock, New Brunswick. So a lot of potential here in Nova Scotia for sure.
Right. So do you guys how many like install crew members do you have? Like, would you say in each province, or like what's the
I probably should have had those numbers.
Oh, no worries. Like, I'm just like a rough idea.
I think right now, I think last week we were like 120 some staff between office and field.
And that would be like all within.
That would be within the three provinces.
In the three provinces.
Yeah.
So most of those field staff would be installing cladding.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
We do have the one full roofing crew, and actually probably like a start of another. Just rolling, getting that off.
Right?
Yeah.
So unionized, non-unionized?
Unionized. Yeah. We had gone unionized carpentry union there back in January.
Okay.
So, our motto being building people, building buildings is what Century, is what we stand for. And so
you're part of the carpentry local.
Yeah. So with having, our the motto being that, building people, building buildings is that's always been my emphasis, is that I want to treat people that work for me very fairly. And
that's why we had unionized, because it's better for the employee.
It was that. We had already started the process of setting up retirement savings plans for all the workers, and we already were giving health benefits and whatnot to the workers. We were doing profit sharing, all that stuff, and we were paying a good wage. I think the reason that we never really got approached or never got unionized before, and it came back to me a number of times from the union, is that we never approached you because you pay your guys good. Right. So I paid in comparison to what the union, if not better. Like in New Brunswick, I pay better than the union. So the pay that I pay our union workers in New Brunswick is above the standard for the union wage. And then
you had your own benefit plan.
We were doing all that. So in setting that up, we were like, okay, well, instead of us having to do the work, let's just get them to do the work. And the benefit. We had started the whole manpower shortage is like really tough, right? Like to try and find skilled people is extremely hard. So we had started, we had hired on we started a new position at the company. It was a trainer role, basically, that we were, so we were going through the process of developing.
The union's not doing a very good job.
It wasn't that. It was just that it was before the union. So we signed on January, but last year, we were looking, we had hired a role for training and development. So seeing that, a lot of the older people in the industry are getting out and new guys are coming in, but there's no real good method of training them to bring them up, to see them succeed. So in building people, how do you build people? Well, you have to put them on a pathway of success, right? You've got to be able to bring them through. And my whole thing is that, okay, well, you don't necessarily need to start at year one and take 5 years to get to a journeyman. If you put in the effort and you show your experience and you want to work, then let's bump you up quicker because you're worth it, right? And so
it gives a lot of incentive too, right? It's a big carrot there.
Yeah. So we're kind of building these animated videos on
really?
How to do trims and folds, and so people can go on and watch, and then we started building training walls where we were going, and then with everything combined, being the training and the retirement savings and the health packages and all that, I was like, it doesn't make sense for us to already, start from scratch. Let's go to the union. They've already got the benefits. They already get all, they have a good package for the guys, right?
They do.
And you get the training seminars and things that are around. And that's been one thing that, working with the carpentry union is that
And
they
great
have
facility to do that in too.
yeah, like they're sending our guys down to Vegas for
which is
to the
nice.
main training center because they have building envelope trainings that they offer there. So let's bring that to Atlantic Canada, whether it's for Century or it's for any of our competition. I mean, it's just better in the industry as a whole to make sure that guys are qualified and certified to be doing these building envelopes. It's you run into so many issues through the years of dealing with leaks or walls not properly being sealed or whatever it is, and owners, they don't deserve that. They deserve a product that's good and it's going to stand for a number of years, right? Like
I think it's when it comes to building envelope, like obviously for the design, there's so much building science involved. There's any number of ways to bake a cake, right, with these assemblies and all the different elements. But even when you're carrying out the supply and install on them, you're kind of instructed to spec and drawings wise what to do, but there's a lot of knowledge that you have to have there, right, to make sure things are done right.
Because I mean, when you're working with engineers and architects, I mean, they have a concept, they have an idea of what they want. And most of the time they're excellent on their details, but then there's things that are missed, or there's different better approaches that comes with experience, and so it just helps be able to pull that all together. Definitely. It's and when you haven't got the right people, I mean, it's or not enough people, especially just coming out of the whole COVID era when schedules were being delayed, and then there was for us that really caused some problems for us because it just caused some backlog of schedules. Like GCs weren't hitting schedules, Century wasn't hitting schedules, and we're still dealing with all of that. That really hasn't equaled out yet. And and then at that whole time, I mean, we had people that just people that had been working for us that just didn't feel comfortable coming to work anymore. And they're at home, so here I am, I've got a tool belt on and I'm out putting buildings together because
you were out doing it.
I was out I was out on the wall trying to get jobs done because people just didn't come to work anymore. Wow. And it was whether and it wasn't everybody, no for sure, but there was enough of them that whether they had family health issues or there was other things that was concerning for them, rightfully so. It affected the manpower situation in Atlantic Canada.
I think even like you said, it's still the air is clearing, and it's not necessarily the hot topic of conversation, COVID anymore, but still kind of
that's right.
Only able now to look back and think like, wow.
No, I definitely try to leave that. That's right.
It's crays times. It's good to see that everybody. Most people, seem to come through it in this industry. Somewhat. Okay. So.
Even though it was a struggle through, it's that the construction industry stayed rolling.
Essential service. We're blessed to be in this.
Oh for sure. Yeah, definitely.
So what percentage of Century's work would you say, like if you were to kind of give a percentage, like between private and public? Like, been a lot of public tenders and then a lot of private relationships with developers and that kind of ongoing repeat work, or is it like kind of 50-50, or is it?
No, it's probably, I would say tendered work is probably 70% of our of our work.
So you're bidding now, Jason, like with the roofing division, just taking the tenders, whether or not you're bidding the cladding or not. If it's a good roofing job, maybe lower risk, kind of simple, you're just trying to attack certain kinds of jobs first, or
it's we I think when we first started getting into it, the talk was try to do the total system for them, the walls and the roof.
Right, and that's kind of the value prop right now. To have one sub trade to do these.
So, but as we started to progress, we said, okay, we're bringing in, trying to get experienced roofers to come in. We got to keep them busy, so we started bidding just jobs. So we've taken on. I think we've done pretty good. We only deal with single ply Carlisle products. So we sort of partnered with them through Arrow partnership. It's not really a big in New Brunswick. It's not really a big roofing. It's all mod bit, 2-ply mod bit in New Brunswick. That's sort of been that way for the last 20, 30 years.
So are you trying to get this in as an alternate?
A lot of the jobs. I think one job we actually bid at the Fredericton Hospital was a single ply job, and we were successful getting it.
Okay. But it was spec'd that way.
It was spec'd that way.
Right.
But the other 7 or 8 jobs that we have is going in and selling our product
To the architect.
to the architects, to the owners, to the GCs. We've been very successful. My experience coming from the construction side over the years was it was the opposite way. Is when they do spec a job that's a single ply, the roofers would come in and try to flip it to a 2-ply mod bit. We sort of took that approach different coming in, and with the help of the local Carlisle rep, we spend a lot of time getting in there and selling the product, meeting with the client, meeting with the government officials or whoever, and we've been very successful at it.
Can you explain the difference? I don't know a lot about
Oh, okay.
roofing.
So you get
in a minute or two.
yeah. So like a 2-ply mod bit is that you have your base sheet which you torch on.
A base and a cap sheet.
A base and a cap sheet. So that's your 2-ply.
Yeah.
So your base sheet's your protection. That's your protection from the outside elements, and then you have your cap sheet, which is sort of your cover.
Yeah.
And I'd say 90% of the application of that is a torch on.
Yeah.
So you lay your insulation, you lay your protection board, then you torch on the base sheet, then you torch on the cap sheet. You go with a single ply, it's either mechanically fastened or self-adhered with adhesives, and then once you just have the single layer of it's either rubber, which is EPDM, or it's
Right. So single ply is not a torch on.
no, it's
EPDM rubber.
It's a flameless solution.
So it's because it's more sustainable that you're able to get it in. Is that why you're using it
Well,
in
no,
the first place?
that's
a factor. Though.
That's a factor. It's the factor that you don't have open flame up on your roof, especially if it's a wood structure, or you're working around parapets, which are all woods. I mean, in the last year there's been a couple of buildings that burnt because they were using torches in New Brunswick, and there's probably a lot more that you don't hear about.
Yeah.
So it's a safe solution. It's half the cost.
But do you think that you're an early adopter, though? Do you think that there is going to be a shift away from?
I think it is. Right now, you got the companies out there like you got Suprema, you got IKO.
They all have a single ply EPDM option.
They all have some have just a PVC or a TPO option. Yeah. Some have the rubber or the thermoplastic.
Something other than torch.
Yeah, but they're also going with their 2-plies with the self-adhered. So now you're getting away from the torch, but it's a lot more money to do. So we just come back from Roof Tech here in April, and that was the big theme up there was flameless solutions. So every company's trying to get away from using torches in their own way. So.
Yeah.
But when you go look at someone like Carlisle, which has been, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if I'm working for Sentry or we're using their product or I'm with the GC. I always felt Carlisle was above everybody else because when other companies were coming in with 2-ply, I think Carlisle was looking at the single-ply rubber
really early on. Yeah.
Really early on. So for the last 50 years, they've been trying to improve it. And there's really some good systems out there. They come out with a Velcro system. Like 6 years ago when I was working for a roofing company, they introduced the Velcro system. And I said, "Oh, geez, what's that?" Like I was like, "That'll never work." And right now, that's one of their top sellers.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's the adhesive. It's Velcro.
It's Velcro. So yeah, like they actually teamed up with Velcro and they copyrighted it. They're the only. I think they're the only roof and supply membrane company out there that has the right to that technology. So there's a couple of roofs in Nova Scotia that has the rapid lock on it, and that's sort of what we're pushing as we go and talk to these clients and everything. So
yeah, you see, like in the building envelope on the cladding side of it, you've seen over the last number of years. I mean, there's not huge advancement in the cladding, but you've introduced new stuff, new products. There's there's different rain screen systems. There's thermal clips. There's all that stuff and then you go to the roofs, and the roofs haven't really changed in Atlantic Canada here much. I mean, you got your big players like Lindsay. Lindsay does a lot of, like, I think that's main focus is single ply, right? Like they're a big player, and I think they use Carlisle products as well.
Okay.
Yeah, great company. But your roofing really hasn't changed so you get this technology, and you go south or you go central Canada, like I would say, especially going into the south, like majority of their roofs are all single ply roofs.
Right.
You start going central Canada, western, like there's a lot of single ply and a lot of torchless systems, right?
Okay.
And it's just a matter. It seems like it takes Atlantic Canada just
Always.
some time to catch up, right, on stuff. But it's definitely the direction that it's going. I mean, you got Velcro roofs. Like, who would have thought you're going to be putting like. Yeah, my grandfather used to wear Velcro on his sneakers, right? Like, I mean,
That's what I was thinking when you were saying I was going to make a joke, but I'm trying not to make jokes on the show.
No.
yeah.
But
It's just Father's Day, so dad joke. Might have been all right.
But yeah, like what Jeremy was saying, you cross the border in Holton, you cross the border in St. Stephen, and you start driving, you start looking at some of the big commercial buildings. It's all single ply, and you cross the river, cross that border in New Brunswick, and it's all either it's a 2-ply mud bed. It just hasn't taken off. So
Right. Go ahead, sorry.
So right now, like we look at it is with the labor shortage, we don't need 10 guys to go in and do a roof. We only need 4 to 5.
Due to the system.
How like just the way the system goes down, it's easier system to go down. So you can put down 5,000-6,000 square feet a day.
With a 4-man crew.
Yeah, with a 4 or 5 man crew.
Hope you guys are listening to this.
While
While they're up on the roof.
Yeah, I gave him a pep talk before I come on. But and then you look at the cost wise, right? Like instead of having to go and put those 2 layers of your base and your cap sheet on, because basically when you do a 2-ply, you go in, you do your base sheet, then you turn around, you do it all again with your cap sheet, right? So it's double the labor. And you just get as much protection with a single ply. Like you can get like 45 mil, 60 mil, 145 mil. Right. You can, once you lay that single ply membrane down, your roof's sealed.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you got 5,000 square feet of roof that's sealed. You don't have to go back and do.
Right.
You might have to go back and do your details around your curbs or your parapets, but you're done. So
this was a pretty crucial part of your expanding Century from cladding to roofing as well, part of another element of the building envelope, and starting with single ply right away. So your employees are trained.
Yes.
You've got the early adopting that in the East Coast. You know, it's going to be more prevalent.
Yeah.
And then you'll have an advantage just on the labor and your knowledge of it and experience and jobs under your belt and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's one thing that would, starting the division was that we weren't using torque. Like that's not even an option for us, right? So I mean, the jobs that there is 2-ply modify on, like we're not pricing, right? So we're not competing in that market.
With given the option to alternate to that.
I think we're able to offer the customers and the clients, some cost savings. And at the end of the day, when you're renting apartments or you've got people that are paying for lease space. I mean, it comes down to the dollars and cents at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And if they can save money, then I think it's definitely of interest. For them to look at and seriously consider. I mean, Century, we're going in as a single ply only, and so we're selling it as single ply is the best. I mean, you've got other guys that are out there that are doing, 2-ply modified, and they're saying that's the best. I mean, I think the products are good either way.
Yeah.
It's just this is what we do, right? So if this is what we do, this is what we promote. And, we like to think and the companies that we deal with, like Carlisle, I mean, they stand behind their product. I mean, the warranties that we can give are like 20-year plus warranties, right?
Yeah.
That are really good, great warranties. Right. And they do
better
all
than
their
most
definitely better than most 2-ply. Yeah.
So yes, like depending on what thickness of membrane you're using, depending on your details, you can get anywhere from 20 to 35, 40-year warranties out there. Yeah. And that's
what I'd want.
That's
with all the roofing problems you hear about, and especially the climate here. If I was a building asset owner, I'd be like, give me something that gives me 40 years. I mean, the building itself is a 60-year to 100-year product.
Yeah. And Carlisle is a total system, right? Like total system warranty.
Non-prorated. At the end of the job, and even during the install, they have their local reps come on. Like Aero Construction is their local rep in the Maritimes for Carlisle.
Yeah.
So they sell the products. They have a technical team that, we're on that roof. They're on that roof with us at least once a week, stopping in. How's things going? Do you have any issues? Or
very engaged.
Yeah. Or if I have an issue, or Jeremy has an issue, or even my foreman has the technical rep's number. If they have an issue, they just call him up. If he's local, even if it's in Moncton and he's out of Fredericton, he's there. He said, "Yeah, listen, I can be there in a couple hours. I can be there tomorrow," or he'll be send me a picture, or whatever. So the support's there. The total system warranty, you have to have all Carlisle products, which are very competitive to instead of trying to piecemeal a roof together.
Yeah.
But Carlisle flies in someone from either Toronto or Pennsylvania, inspector. They come in, they inspect the whole roof, they grade it, and
so they're doing the roofing assessment too, like to document it for the GC or the owner.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
right?
So
they do
yep.
that.
So like when we start the job, we fill out the warranty if we're doing a total system warranty. And that's all we offer. That's all we've been offering on all these jobs, right? Like it's like 10 cents or 30 cents a square foot for this total system warranty. We have to document that as soon as we start the job. As soon as we get the PO, we have to register the warranty with Carlisle. And then that's when they say, okay, they tell their guys, okay, they start this job. You got to start looking at it, working with them. We let them know when the roof's done, and when we want the warranty to start, they'll fly someone in. They'll do a walk through the roof. Our foreman's with them. Myself, I try to be with them if I'm available, and they walk the roof. If they see something there, they're very open. That's okay. That's not right. You need to fix that. Mm-hmm. And then our guys will be right there with their materials and their tools, and they'll fix that. So when they come back, they'll say, "Okay, you fix that. That's correct." Or if they need help doing it, and then when they walk off the roof, they sign off. Carlisle takes ownership of that roof for 20, 25 years, and it's non-prorated. So if they have a problem year 15 and something needs to be replaced, it's at the cost of year 15. It's not the cost of what it cost you when you did it originally. So they're really good that way, and great support. And like I said, that's for the last 30 years I've been in the construction industry. Ever since I've been introduced to that Carlisle product, it's above the rest, right? Like they just that's all they concentrate on. And
something to be said for that. So focused on that part of the building.
And then with us, we're part of the Canadian Roofing Contractors Association. So we have a 2-year warranty on top of that for labor and materials that covers.
You're tied to that for 2 years.
Yeah. So going in, I had a little bit behind the scenes because the rep for Carlisle and I are good friends. I mean, we developed a friendship over the years, and he sort of explained to me, like, they don't tell the client this when they go in. So we sort of went in and just sort of laid it all out and said, here's what you have to offer. Here's the different systems. What's your price range? Okay, you want to do it cheap and dirty, but you still want the warranty. Here's the best system to go with. You want something a little bit more durable? We can go with this system, right? So, and the other part of it is coming from the GC side of things and building apartments for the last 4 years from the ground up. You want to get in that building as quick as possible, right? You want to get in the ground. You want to get your structure done. You want to get your roof on, get it sealed up, so you can get your electricians, get all your trades in there working. Mm-hmm. And we can do, depending on the square footage of the building, we can have it totally watertight for them within 5 to 7 days, and walk away and say, okay, when you're ready to put your curbs in, or you're ready to put your units in, or your roof hatch, give us a call. We'll come down. You open it up. It's easy to open up.
1 week, 1 week, and watertight.
Yeah, we can be watertight. Depending on the square footage.
Obviously, depending on the square footage.
On the square footage,
typical project that you're
typical
on.
project. Our typical projects that we're
10
bidding.
to 20,000 square feet. Is that?
Yep.
Say?
Yeah. And like we did we're doing a job at the hospital now. We had it tore off and water sealed in a day.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, it's just
you had to strip what was there.
We stripped what was there. Yeah. Now
replacement, not a full replacement.
It was a full replacement. It was full replacement on a courtyard.
Okay.
I think it was probably 3,000 or 4,000 square feet, and we ripped it off, had the garbage off the building, and the new membrane down. So if you have the right crew, and we were lucky enough, we picked up a couple of experienced foremen that's what their specialty was they liked working with a single ply, and they weren't happy where they were, and they come aboard and they love it. So I mean,
you're off.
Yeah, we're off to the races. So
with the cladding side, just a limited knowledge myself on that, but there's so many products, right? I mean, you're fabricating your own sheet goods painted
Yeah.
ACM panels.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're probably installing like 30 different products in the run of a year on the same project. There's ACM here, there's some horizontal siding, Mac metal, ceramics, Tempio. There's so many different.
Oh, there's a lot, and there's a lot that really we haven't
it's
even
hard to keep up
we
to,
haven't
right?
even installed, right?
Yeah,
Like I
it can be
see
hard to
products out
price that
there.
stuff too. Whenever it's a
Yeah.
unique product and it's part of the job where there is panel systems on one elevation that you're used to, and then all of a sudden there's maybe 5,000 square feet of this.
Yeah,
You don't know what to allow for labor, and
you know, and rightfully so. Architects are making their mark, right?
Yeah.
And they're being unique.
That's
and, there's not a typical job anymore.
No, there isn't.
Like there's definitely not. Even when you get into pre-engineered buildings, I think like by the time you do the entrances and a few accent walls or something like that, it's detail stuff and
which is exciting in a way.
Yeah, it is, but it adds a level of
really
complexity.
Have to pay attention.
And a required skill level for guys on site, right? And guys aren't, not everybody has the experience to.
Yeah.
I mean, this is new stuff, right? That architects are dealing with, and the way they're drawing it, and the way they're detailing it. It's especially for Atlantic Canada. You know, you're seeing some really nice buildings being constructed. Yeah. And it's not, by the time you do thermal clips and you do your through walls and your membranes and everything, it's not a typical.
No.
And
channels outside the secrets and horizontal runs.
Yeah.
It's...
And we've watched, as jobs have become more complicated, we've watched the daily production also drop with time as well, right? You're losing that real skilled market that you've had. There's more work, you're bringing more people in, but jobs are getting more complicated. So you're definitely, it's taking longer to do jobs. Yeah,
even the design of some of the buildings, I know that I've just been involved slightly with, like in the city here, like there's nothing on the building is straight wall, straight runs. You can get your orientation point kind of layout. Your ACM panels or whatever it might be. It's like stops and starts and different symmetrical shapes and everything. Like it's just hard to catch everything too. You're looking through the elevations and then also through cut throughs and details to catch a little bit of banding here, but then you go through the whole building and there's 12,000 square feet of banding that's 8 inches wide around the balconies and this and that. There's just a lot of and on that scope where the material price is so high and the labor price is so high, like any little miss is a big mess, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had a meeting there the other day yesterday with the guys with Southwest because we're doing the canard for them. And
so you're doing the canard building?
Yeah, we're doing the canard. So
how long have you been there?
We've been there. Yeah, we've been there. Yeah, we've been there for a little while. It's amazing, nice building, but the detail work on it is it's pretty intense. I'm sitting there last night until 10 o'clock at night. I'm still project managing because we're still looking, we're still trying to, in this process of growing, we haven't got the right, enough project managers. So anyway, I'm filling in, here working with them, trying to, keep it on schedule or bring it on schedule, get it finished.
You're doing the cladding at the canard.
And
awesome.
So I'm there like until 10 o'clock last night, drawing up details of ACM where it's coming over a parapet. I got columns tying into it. I've got curtain wall. There's some panels that are set back in, some panels that are out, and trying to bring all that together. There's you look at it and you're like, there's an easy way for us to do this, which is probably not the right way, right? Like if you're going to do this the right way, then you need your splines and your extrusions in the right spots. You can't mess up. So there's a lot of detail work in these jobs. It's taken some time.
Quick shout out to the newest sponsor of the show, the Stone Depot. The Stone Depot is located in Bears Lake, Halifax, but serves all of the East Coast. The showroom over 8,000 square feet, perfect for masonry contractors, landscaping contractors, builders, developers. Regardless, the Stone Depot is a great option for you, whether you're doing fire pits, patio stones, kitchen and interior stones. So if you're looking for a great stone supplier, visit the Stone Depot. This episode is brought to you by Airtight Spaces. Airtight Spaces is Atlantic Canada's first authorized aero barrier dealer. They help create comfortable, healthy, and durable living environments with the added benefit of energy efficiency. Air sealing is a critical step towards net zero buildings. Using air pressure to automatically guide sealing guarantees the highest quality results in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort. If air sealing is important to you, you can visit Airtight Spaces at www.airtightspaces.com. Pivot Bookkeeping is your one-stop shop and customizable bookkeeping, tax, and filing service. With Pivot, you have the peace of mind knowing your taxes are always filed on time and your bookkeeping is reconciled often. Using their non-proprietary software and applications, all of your business finances are securely handled by their local account managers. Pivot takes great pride in providing you with unlimited support and a direct line to your account managers right here in Nova Scotia. Whether you're an established business looking for new options and increase efficiency, or a newer company looking to build a solid foundation for future growth, Pivot has a product that can be modified to your needs. Consider making the pivot today. Book a free consultation at pivotbookkeeping.com.
For sure.
Yeah.
So with the Canard, I've heard another 18 months or something before they want to be open.
Right.
Like what phase is it at for you? You're started there obviously, but you got a long while to go yet.
We're going to be in September.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There. I mean, it seems like the job is. I focus on the on the cladding. I know that the team there at
I'm just trying to think
Southwest.
like how much cladding other than masonry, because there's so much glazing
Right.
is actually on it, even though
Yeah,
it's such a massive
majority
building.
of our work is just on that first five levels.
First 5 levels,
Yeah.
right? Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bigger
the
footprint.
rest of the stuff up
Yeah.
is a lot of when curtain wall or it's curtain glass and just concrete. But we have some stuff up on the one of the decks around the pools and the penthouse.
That pool top
it's-
area. One of our partners with our media company is a rendering company, so they'll do virtual tours.
Oh yeah,
and so they've created the drone views and
you
walk out on the pool view.
Wow.
Actually, it's like a video game, but you're on the Queen's. You're on the Canard.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing. It's great to be part of the job and working with the Southwest team there. It's just it's good. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Jim Mullen, is he one of the guys you're dealing with?
Yeah, Jim and Steve and Dean. Dean's a awesome site superintendent there, and it's been a good experience.
Yeah, it must feel good for you as the owner to be part of a project like that.
For sure.
Kind of a milestone project on the waterfront in Halifax. We were down there last night and.
Yeah.
Like first day of summer, beautiful weather, beautiful evening, just having dinner with some people, and we're sitting right next to the Canard thinking that's going to be awesome when it's done.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. Yeah, it's going to be a nice building. That's definitely one of our, one of the large projects that we're working on right now outside of over in Newfoundland with NAMHAF. NAMHAF's a massive project that we're doing with Marco. Again, another amazing team, great guys and girls. Yeah, but good project. It's going into Newfoundland has been.
Is that a recent thing for you guys?
Yeah, we went there. It's probably been like 18 months ago that we opened up the office.
That recent. Okay.
Yeah. It's a challenge. I think anytime you go into any new area, you're definitely going to deal with challenges, and then for us to take on,
more so in Newfoundland though, like New Brunswick to Nova Scotia seems like a lot easier transition.
It is definitely to make that skip across the water that adds a lot of logistics. A lot of logistics, a lot of just things that maybe and I guess one of the biggest challenges is that we took on the largest job that we've ever done. Right, like we've got it's a big job. It's over $8 million for us on just building envelope. So it's it's a big job.
So a lot of late nights for you to make that decision to do such a big job out of the gate. How's your decision? Can you run us through a little bit of your decision process?
Well, with Marco, we had started early on the job, as I'm sure they had other cladding companies working with them as well, like going through the design. We worked right from the begining. I think it was like a 2-year process even before being awarded the job.
Wow, that's a long pursuit.
Yeah. Almost. I mean, I was
for
dealing,
a subcontractor.
I was dealing early on in the job and working out budgets with them, and
design.
Offering suggestions and whatnot. But
so that's a unique way in, isn't it?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I think that's something that
you want to do more of that.
I definitely
scenario.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy being part of the jobs early on and helping with the design and detailing. Whether it's architects or general contractors, my phone rings. I like dealing with that stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that, because as a building envelope company, probably, I mean, you see that in some interior trades too, but to be involved way downstream in design, and they're, you know,
Yeah.
architects asking for your expertise, because how can they be an expert at everything, and then you know, entering in to the job kind of that way instead of just complete, well, call it value engineering, but instead of like complete, like hard bid, low number kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and we don't always get all the jobs that we work on, you know, and
that's the thing, right? You might not have got it after a year and a half of effort.
That's right. Yeah. But it just comes along with the territory and building the relationships with whether it's architects or general contractors or owners. Is that, you know, we're here to offer our expertise in a successful project, you know, to help them detail. And if at the end of the day we don't get it, well, it seems like there's plenty of work out there, right?
Yeah, there just is, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
We've all, like, even so much as recent in the last few months, really, we've really haven't been bidding the tendered stuff as much anymore, because we've got to a point where, you know, there's enough work out there that if I don't get that next tendered job, then my phone's going to ring and I'm going to do the next one. Right. Like it's that's
a good place to
be.
be.
It is a good place to be, versus sometimes it feels like you chase people to the bottom. Right. And sometimes that's
so when you're getting those calls right now and you're being asked about a project, say, that starts in 6 months, and it's fairly complex and fairly large project. First thing you're thinking is, you know, where am I going to get the men? Where are these guys from this site going to be? Talking about the labor shortage and how hard the challenges there for you guys with roofing. So I'm thinking, like, you have your cladding side, which is well established, roofing division, off the ground now. You know, maybe glazing too is the next one. So you're full offering with building envelope. Do you see, like, some of the employees? I mean, you got to have your expertise in each one, running each scope crew, but like maybe some overlap. Like, a lot of guys who do cladding can do some glazing or some roofing. How do you kind of see that kind of playing out? And
we have it right now with our roofing crew. We brought when we brought them on, that's one of the first questions we asked them. Right, are you interested in learning the cladding side? So the first month and a half they were with us while we were waiting for some jobs to start, was they were working on the cladding side. We put them with the cladding crew to learn that side. So eventually, when we do get, my train of thought was when I pushed that with them in the interviews and stuff was, okay, if we get a job that we have cladding and a roofing on, depending on the size, they could be there to do the whole thing for us, right? Go on and get your roof on, get your cladding on, then you can get your flashings on, clean the job up, and then you're done. You're in there quicker. You're not waiting for the cladding guy to get done his job so that you can go finish your job on the roof. It'd be a process. So the guys were very open to it, and it worked good. We actually took one of the cladding guys and put him on the roofing crew. So we just moved him over because we needed guys, and he seemed to love it.
So they're going to switch out both crews entirely.
So we missed a match, and I think that's great because the guys that come on board with us, they said, this is great. Now we're working 12 months a year instead of 8 or 9. Because usually there's a little, in the wintertime with the roofing, there's a little law there between January and March, depending on weather and stuff, right? So,
but if I was an employee, and I'm thinking, you know, like I'm a site worker, and I'm doing cladding for 10 years, done a little bit of glazing, roofing, I would want to work with Century if I knew, like, variety kind of is the spice of life. I'm not saying that you can be an expert at everything, but like a lot of guys are that skilled that, they can do it all. If they get a chance to work on a job where it's cladding for a year and then they're over to glazing, like, to me, like, that opportunity to do that is attractive to employees that are really skilled employees.
And that's part of the whole diversification of the company, right? Is that it's easy. It's not just because of the relationships that you have with the general contractors or owners that it's easy to add in another sector, but it's easy because your teams and your field guys are around those details as well, right? It's not just myself that's visually or Jason that's been able to understand the details because he's been working right alongside those details for a number of weeks or months or years. But you don't want it's the field guys equally as it's easy for them.
You don't want to diminish it either because, like, not anybody can just step into a large glazing project, right? And the stakes are so costly and handling the material and all that. But
definitely.
Yeah, that I just.
But
It's important to note that.
I don't want to say that's
Don't
equal
wanna
by any
make it-
sense.
Yeah, you don't want to make it sound
No,
like it's
and
no big
even
deal.
cladding and roofing too. I mean, there's specialists and
They are specialists,
They're
yeah.
specialists and they know their stuff. And
But even if you do get projects, like, yes, you're going to get some jobs, like you said earlier, that you might get the roofing on this job, you might get the cladding on that one. Some of them you'll get both.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point you get all three elements on the envelope, and that's great for the GC.
Yeah.
But then it's all your foremen that are conversing with each other and communicating with each other. You're controlling, everything integrated. Like, so it's
Yeah, and dealing with the shortages of manpower, I think that's one thing that really pushed the roofing or the glazing on a little bit quicker for us, is that when it comes to the cladding sector, is that it's not that I can't say we've tapped out in our growth as far as finding people, but
Right.
it's really slowed down. Like we
be able to add to that crew now.
To add to that crew, where it might be easier for us to add a roofing division and experienced roofers versus experienced cladders. Right. We might be able to go out, because we've been searching and trying to find experienced cladders, and we've been successful even recently with finding getting some really good guys. But then, okay, so how many more cladders are there out there that's going to want to come work for Sentry? Maybe there's no more. Maybe it's just we've got to start training guys from the ground up, and that's how we're going to build moving forward. So we've kind of like plateaued, maybe in a sense, on the cladding, but I think there's plenty of room for growth in the roofing, because maybe we just haven't focused on that. And then the same thing so instead of being 200 employee cladding company, well, it's easier to diversify that and be
a building envelope company with 300
divide
employees.
divide that out and have 100 right?
That makes perfect sense. So have you found that Jason, that, like, to me, when I think of roofing, again, I really don't know, but it seems to be like there's a lot of roofing companies out there, in Atlantic Canada. But when you're pricing jobs, like, are you competing with the typical same 5 or 6 or 7 or 8? Or is it 10? Is it 4?
No, you're normally, New Brunswick wise, you're dealing with, I call them the big 4 or whatever. You have Flynn, you have ATEC, you have Atlantic, you have Evo.
Right.
Yeah. So those are the main guys that you see on the jobs.
And again, a lot of them aren't doing the single ply.
Yeah, a lot of them aren't doing single ply. Like they concentrate on the 2 ply, but a lot of the jobs they're bidding on is government jobs. So government's stuck with 2 ply mod bit. So
right, and that's not going to change.
No, and then you see the few private jobs that come out on CNET or whatever. Or you get invited to by we get invited to by a GC that Sentry's worked with before, and that's, we go in there and try to flip that, right? So we've been very competitive. I think on the single ply side, we've surprised a few people. We've come in very competitive. I think it's just the way that we bid it, is that we started out, our estimators didn't have the experience on bidding the 2 ply mod bit. They've always bid the single ply, because Jeremy was doing a few jobs prior to starting up his roofing division, right? Like, he had certain customers, so that they had exposure to that, so they got the numbers down, they got that, and that gave us a little bit of edge in the industry. So, but yeah, you're competing against probably the basic 4 or 5 every time that you go, right? So we're not out there to take jobs away. My goal is to build relationships, and I have an uncle that I'm very close to. He's a top foreman for ATEC in New Brunswick, right? So I'm competing against him. I mean, I see him every day, talk to him every day. But we're not out there to try to make enemies. We're out there to
you do see a lot of competition. Yeah, and a lot of scopes that do have conversations with each other, not all the time, but quite often, just to see how things are going. And there's enough work out there, right? So it's easy to be diplomatic.
Sure.
And
I mean, it's you got to have those relationships, right? You can go in and be all cocky and say we're gonna take this market over and step on who you want, and then down the road you might need a favor, right? Like, and they're just gonna look at you and say, no, listen.
But if you have that perspective, that it's that busy,
and I've been very lucky. I've worked with Atlantic, I've worked with ATEC, I haven't worked with Flynn a lot, but on previous jobs, like when I was with started out my career in the food industry, like we always worked with Atlantic on our roof systems our plants in the Maritimes. So I developed that relationship with them. Of course, my uncle's in this, so I knew them from there. I worked with ATEC when I was working for a GC. I worked with ATEC. They did a lot of our roofs for us, our flat roofs. So coming in, I had those relationships with them, right? ATEC sponsored us to get in the roofing construction, or the Roofers Contractors Association for New Brunswick. We needed a sponsor. They stepped up to the plate. Jeremy knows Ron. They have a good working relationship from the past. So you got to develop, keep those relationships. You never know when you step on someone's toe. You never know when it's gonna come back and bite you in the ass, right?
Yeah.
So I've been very fortunate. I always believed to keep those relationships and work with them. And all through my career, I had certain contractors that I worked with that didn't matter if I was working in New Brunswick or Manitoba or PEI. If there was that one contractor that I knew could get the job done and he could be competitive, you tried to work with him, right? So
yeah, it's funny. Like it's almost like as a contractor, one of the things that maybe guys working in the field who haven't been on the ownership end might not realize, it's just you're constantly in that pool of people trying to navigate the relationships, the competitors, the market, how busy it is, all the changing variables, there's so many things you're trying to navigate throughout
one thing in with manpower and a company like I'm considering Century is a really young company, right? And there's plenty of room for us to be able to expand and grow over the coming years, but it's like going into the install only coming out of Vic West is that the older guys were leaving, right? And so here I am, 20 some years old, going in and taking on decent sized projects with gathering up some guys, starting to train, teach. And so a lot of those guys that started with me are foremen now within the company,
right?
Over the years. But it's the same thing when it comes to so as a company as a whole, is that there's older companies out there, and that, there's things that are changing. They're always changing.
Yeah.
And Century as a young company, I think we can come in and over the years continue to develop the younger generations to be able to come up, right? We need to get these guys that are coming out of high school to trade them, to train them and teach them that, the trades are important in Atlantic Canada, and that they can make a good living in Atlantic Canada in trades. And so that's going to be a focus, whether it's for Century or for any young company that's starting and coming up, is that's where our focus is going to be, because in order for us to be able to get any longevity out of it, is that we've got to teach these younger people. And me being 42, I still have a lot of work left in me. And I think that it's bringing that next generation, those other 20, 30, 40-year-olds into the trades and teaching them, so that when the other guys are ready for retirement, and a lot of them are, in our companies
within the next 5-year period, there's going to be a big shift.
There is. And so it's to put that focus on the younger generation, and so on labor shortage. There's plenty of labor shortage right now. I think we're going to see even more labor shortage coming up. Right?
And that's why what you're saying just now is so important, to take action now to have a solution in 5 years.
And so whether it's Century or it's any of our competitors in this market space, or any market space really, I mean, to put the focus on that next generation that's coming up is really important.
And you're right, attracting them out of high school, whereas like maybe thinking about going to be an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, but it could be a project manager, and shedding light on what that means to be one, and to be part of a job like the Canard downtown, and say that you helped, it's a very good paying job, very respectable, bring the status element up a little more as in the stereotype,
and it's not enough. I don't think we've had interviews just yesterday, talking about wage and salaries, and it's not just about salary anymore. Like, and I don't know if it ever, just was about salary, but it's about, it's about the culture of the business. It's about their benefits and the vacation time that they get off with their families and things, right? It's
lifestyle.
It's not the way it used to be. Like I remember, my dad grew up working every day, evenings. I mean, I'm come from a family of 6.
I come from family of 7, and I'm 37,
yeah,
so
I have
not
7.
much different than you. Oh, you have 7?
I have 7. Yeah, I
God
got.
bless you.
I have 6 wonderful girls and a
Wow.
son. Yeah,
Oh, that's great,
yeah.
man.
So it's
awesome.
yeah. My wife is. I always tell everybody, and so it's important that I say this, that my wife definitely works much harder than what I do.
Definitely.
She definitely does, and she
You're a
holds.
saint like my mother.
Yeah, like I mean, I've worked across Canada. I'm gone for 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time. Building this business, and she has she's held things together amazingly, and so I definitely got to give credit to her.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, you come from this generation where I mean, my dad just worked all the time. Like that's all that he did. I mean, I remember my first job. I was 13 years old, worked in a cedar mill. 14 years old, I drove skidder for dad in the woods. Like I worked, and so I have this, and my son kind of.
You have that ingrained though.
Yeah. My son probably wished there was more fishing trips than what there was work dates, but but anyway, it's different now. It's people are looking for their time. People are looking for their time off. They need there's family time. It's not just about work anymore, and so to portray that and to bring that into the culture of the construction industry is going to be important, in the coming years. And
it's been such a blessing to have these conversations with so many different people for the team here at our show, just because it's hard to implement and carry through those change. You see things changing, but until you're talking about something for a long while before of the direction you're headed in, and just so many different opinions and feedback, it's like just a conversation we need to keep having,
it does,
right?
It's we're not there, for sure,
conversation.
That's right, it is.
So thoughts on the glazing side, like that's on the agenda. It's obviously like that would be the kind of third crucial piece to the full building envelope. That's a maybe bigger leap with the cost of materials and or maybe it's not a bigger leap. Maybe it's just another.
Yeah,
in some ways, maybe
we don't want to overdo ourselves either. I mean, we're not
like a good pace with finesse, and not just like it to say we're there already and you're not really.
Right. No, and we had we've done 3 projects where we did the glazing and frames and doors, and even out west I've done some frames and door install on some stuff in Snow Lake, Manitoba, and we have crews out in BC right now doing a pit mine there, some buildings for trucks and whatnot. But it's something that we're definitely working towards. It's been, like I said before, it'd been like a year since we've done any glazing. We don't want to step in too quick and make a mistake, right? Like we want to make sure that when we come into that market that we have, experience like Jason brings to the roof. We've got, a good team in the field that's able to do it. I'm not going to come in and say, I can do that job and then just try to throw it together. And, it just takes time. And really, because of the opportunity coming out of the roofing side, that's been our focus. So right now it's really to, get our teams set up and get everything properly structured and get the right people in the right seats for the cladding and the roofing, and then we'll start. When the time comes, we'll start doing some of the more of the glazing. The odd job. I mean, we might be, maybe tomorrow I decide to fit a small job.
Well,
right?
you could be working. What's probably going to happen, and correct me if I'm wrong, like a lot of times what I see in the city here is like, you got a cladding company working on a pretty major project, and there's just a little bit of glazing over there, and that the trade's gone, and you guys want to, put these panelings in, like, and then as soon as you're done, it's like, we should be doing glazing too. I see that happen quite a bit, right? Now all of a sudden we're the glazing experts.
I think that's how you got in the roofing business.
You said before, it's very transitional, right? Like you're right there around it.
Yeah.
Your crew's there, so you get asked like, hey, you guys want to install this? Like as a CO,
no, that's, but the glazing, we're definitely it's something that's coming. Just no time frame yet exactly when that's all gonna go full force, but
it's exciting. What's your pulse on the New Brunswick market? Like things are really busy there, huh? And
Not as much
It's
as Nova Scotia, but
not as much as Nova
but-
Scotia.
No, but
so there's a significant difference in your.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. But I
certain
mean,
parts in New Brunswick
oh yeah,
are-
for sure. Moncton
Moncton
is
is kind of
growing.
booming, eh?
There's a lot of big projects. I mean, I drove through there just the first of this week, and it's amazing to see all the structures going up and the tower cranes in the city, and I haven't been to St. John recently, but I know we're doing a big apartment building over there.
There's a lot of apartment buildings, I think, going
There
up in
is.
St. John.
Yeah.
that's
I
nice.
mean, I
Yeah,
think-
we have a roofing job with Iron Maple starting in a couple weeks, so
Yes.
we were able to flip them to a single ply. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
so we're putting a rapid lock on it actually. So we're looking forward to working with them and form that partnership. So, but yeah, there's a lot of you look at in the news in St. John, I think it's more apartment buildings and condos and stuff going up down there right now. So
we do have a couple of schools that we're doing in New Brunswick as well. For one for Marco, the other one for Spring Hill, and some So we got 3 apartment buildings that we're doing in New Brunswick, and then
For the cladding scope on some of the schools you've worked on, I'm assuming you've worked on several schools over
Yeah,
the years.
yeah,
Has it been?
Yeah.
Have they been, not to mention numbers or anything, but have they been profitable experiences? I find a lot of people share the opinion that it can be tough to make a profit on school
schools-
projects.
Yeah, schools have not been
Not great for anybody.
no, not really.
Except the students once they're
yeah,
done.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. We definitely we've started almost pushing them aside.
Yeah, a lot of people have.
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons
But
that
they've
we
announced 8 new schools in the province here too this past week.
Yeah. It's different building schools in New Brunswick than it is in Nova Scotia.
How so?
Yeah, the design. I think that the architects have more freedom and bigger budgets
Right.
in Nova Scotia than what there is in New Brunswick. New Brunswick, you tend to see just steel cladding, like metal cladding, nothing special. It's semi corrugated. It's
A lot of block wall, a lot of masonry.
yeah, I mean, they get
a lot
into some color stuff. Like
Yeah.
one of the last ones that we did was Murdoch and Boyd, and they did some nice stuff with color. But here you're seeing the fiber cements and the ACM and the higher end metal. So it is a little bit different doing a school in Nova Scotia than what it is in New Brunswick.
Okay, that's interesting.
But yeah, it's a tight market
tight.
in those schools, and that goes back to us kind of saying, okay, well, we're not going to be bidding every tendered job, right? We did bid that. The last one that we got, I think we ended up being like one of the only bidders that bid the cladding, right? Everybody's busy. There's a lot of work on the go.
And that's the opportunity now. Is
Yeah.
you're going to see some high numbers. And
Yeah,
some,
you're gonna, because people are going to be stretched to be able to get there and get the work done, right? And they're going to be dealing, and they're going to be fighting with schedules, and they're going to be trying to find people and train people, and that's going to cost money. And prices are going to be, prices are going up everywhere. I mean, I haven't seen the labor increases that we've seen in material increases. No, it has not kept in par. Yeah, the percentages of material and cost of material is way higher than what labor's gone up.
Right, labor's gone up, but not as high.
It's gone up, but I've never been able to increase it that much.
Yeah, you're just going to price yourself out right at the
Yeah.
top.
Yeah. And like I said, then you're dealing with the whole production thing, right? Like, I mean, you bid these jobs at a certain hourly rate and a certain production, and you got to hit the production. Sometimes that's it's very difficult to do. It's difficult to do especially when it's a whole bunch of things. Like we were talking about the schedules before and overlapping and getting everything. Well, you end up bringing in a lot of people to be able to do that, but then you can't hit the targets because they don't have the experience that's needed to be able to hit the targets, and now it starts costing you. So it's difficult. Yeah, to manage a schedule right now is tough. Yeah, and I see that right across any of the jobs that we're working on. I think it's not just a Century thing. It's a general construction industry. Yeah, this is an industry thing that what we used to be able to do 5 years ago, we're not doing now. It's taken us longer.
Yeah. So how do you find the receptivity and the schedules that are being proposed? Like, as the GC have
Well,
some
I think
kind
sometimes
of, I mean, their just job is just to push it through anyway, like it always is. I mean, but depending on whether it was realistic in the first place.
Yeah, it's sometimes for me on some of the projects we're working on right now, it's kind of embarrassing really to go in and you put out a schedule and then in 2 weeks you're completely off of what you just submitted, right? Like
you might have just threw it.
Yeah, like it's almost like it's pointless. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And we're trying to
Budget
work
too
that
sometimes.
out. Yeah. We're trying to work that out. It's difficult. It's difficult to schedule and to, be able to, especially late this here in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, like the weather we've had in the last 2 weeks with the month with the rain.
I know, right?
And
So
we're
you're not
you know
working
we're all
outside
out
most
we're all
days.
outside, and the production is low. I mean, Jason's dealing with that on roofs, and one good
Can
thing
you
about
lay down
your-
the roof when it's raining with the rain? With the rubber, yeah.
Well, with the rubber, depends on what you're laying, but you don't really want to. But like,
Luckily, the job we were on,
yeah,
was,
we had the rubber down. It was an inverted roof, so we could still put the insulation down. We could still put our patio stones down and stuff. So we kept them busy that way. But
yeah,
the weather. I just had this conversation with Jeremy on, I think it was Tuesday. Is the weather's just been. He said, "What's delaying you?" And I said, "Nothing but the weather, right? Like, like we don't want to. I don't want to go and open up a roof. Okay, 3% chance shower today, and all of a sudden it changes, and you flood the hospital, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Like I don't want.
You don't want that.
No, we don't want, I don't want to be responsible for that. So you sort of, okay. Like there was one day we thought it was going to rain. It was supposed to rain. We told the crew not to come in, and it was like all cloudy all day, right? But by the time you figure that out at 10 o'clock, it's hard to get the crew back.
It's
in,
tough
right?
to know whether to pull the trigger on.
Yeah. So I mean, I can make that call, but then I rely on my foreman, right? They're the guys there that are there every day. They've been doing this for 20 years, and they could say, listen, it's going to rain. You might not think it's going to rain. You might look at the forecast, but they sort of know the feeling, right? So you got to trust your team that you have out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can remember when I was working for a roofing company, we were doing a job in St. John, and one of the owners, he was like their project manager, and we were putting a roof on. It was nice. For once, it was nice and sunny in St. John. I'm like, oh, let's pound it out. And he looked out. He was looking out over the hill, and he said, no, it's going to rain this afternoon. I said, there's not a cloud in the sky. And by
Get
noon,
that sixth sense, eh?
yeah,
He just knew.
He said, no. He said, I can feel it. He said, we're gonna do this. We're gonna finish it off. So by noon, we had done what we'd done. I said, we got to put more down. He said, no, it's going to rain within an hour. Like the clouds were rolling in, and it was raining.
enough.
I'm like, okay, I'm not going to question you again, right? So, but
that's been a
You're very
that's
subject to the
schedule.
weather, though, right?
Yeah.
With a
Oh, yeah.
company like
Yeah,
yours,
yeah,
that's
yeah, you got to.
But one thing with being diversified too is that crew on some of those rainy days, they were able to go down to the cladding job.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because our cladding guys, a lot of them depend if it's raining like downpour, then
if you're on a certain side of the building,
Yeah.
and it's
But-
a big enough project,
yeah,
you're probably
yeah,
okay.
they're areas that they typically
soften
try
areas
to work.
maybe, or-
yeah.
Yeah, so
But
hopefully it'll turn around and we'll
Yeah.
get going. But
schedules are but
Yeah.
the schedule thing is it's a challenge.
I had a foreman one time. I give him a schedule. Being on a project manager side, you give him a schedule, and he just, okay. So we'll get it done as it goes, right? Like
Yeah.
it was just, it's only as good as it's on paper, but
Yeah, there's a lot of people,
Yeah.
see a schedule as a subcontractor, and
Yeah.
but then to see the work that goes into some of those as the PMs, it's almost like a legal document in some
yeah.
ways to the
Yeah.
owner, and
Yeah.
there's different phases, all the preliminary stuff before it's turned over.
Yeah.
The job starts, and then
That's right.
but
I
mean,
know
it's,
that
it's just one of them things. It's like
Yeah.
everybody's. It's never going to be perfect, but
yeah. But I mean, you try
hard
to
to-
do better than if you're not hitting the targets, then you've definitely got to examine. You got to see what's happening.
yeah.
Why are you so far off? And then because it's for us as a subcontractor, we don't want to be giving garbage to general contractors and to owners, and that's not our intention.
Or
And
holding
it's-
up the job, right? And there's
Yeah.
other trades behind you, which
Yeah.
maybe isn't as you guys are off in the end.
yeah.
Oh, that's not true. There's still other
site-
trades
site
waiting
work.
on
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys.
I get pushed out of I get pushed off walls all the time for site work.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you just want to you want to do your best for contractors, right? And to hand
sure.
them something that you're getting a call in 2 weeks saying like, what the heck, and then you say, oh,
Yeah.
I'll give you a new schedule, it's gonna be better, and then 2 weeks later they're like, what the heck, you know,
So like that would be your first roofing job with Iron Maple? Or one
No,
of the
it
first
was with the Horizon Health.
Okay,
Doing
but it's just like that. Now you have a relationship there. Now
Yes,
they're
yeah,
going to
so-
have stuff come up, and there's an
hopefully
inroad,
get it-
and
yeah, hopefully get in there, and then with Iron Maple, I mean, we didn't come in coming in the industry. I said one thing I'm not going to do is going to come in and buy jobs. So I mean, we've got one job with Iron Maple that we were successful at, and then we flipped another roof in Sussex, but we lost out by a few $1,000s. But they stuck with what we proposed to them, right? So I mean, one of the things that I found in the roofing business and talking with with sales guys and stuff is that every roofer thinks that when you come in, you're trying to underbid them, you're trying to cut throat them and all that.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want
a lot of that goes on.
Yeah. So it's great that we're bidding the same jobs as you guys are.
Yeah.
But we're not trying to buy the job. We're losing jobs. We're getting jobs. So. But yes, our
different dynamic to roofing than cladding, probably. Like one is high-end architectural finish, and maybe like still both volume games. Like you need to do a lot of volume, but roofing seems to be a little more like.
Yeah, roofing is get in there, get it done, get out, get on to the next job, right? But it's still, you want to do a good job. You don't want to be called back in a week or two that it's leaking, or you don't want to have the reputation of they come in and they threw it together, they had problems.
You get a bad rep pretty quick.
Yeah, you get a bad rep.
Companies out there don't have the greatest rep. Right?
Yeah, so I mean, I like to go in and do the. I treat it if it's my own place. I like to go in and make sure it's done right.
Yeah,
and I tell the guys that I said, treat this as if it's your home, and would you do that at your house? I've been like that through my whole career. Right?
Yeah, would you do that at your home?
Yeah, like would you accept that? So. And we do have a good group of guys. Like they come from an industry. They might have thought I actually got complimented for taking them because they were a problem somewhere else, and I look at it as you might not have liked them, but they're in an environment now. They're flourishing, right? So sort of like the Vegas Knights, right? You take all the misfits and
championship team.
Yeah. 6 years later, they're a championship team, right? You just put them in the right
they looked good in the finals, eh?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe they just stopped Florida in their tracks.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was going to happen. They're so good.
Yeah, no, it's so anyway, that's the way I look at. I was driving down, and that's how I look at my roofing crew, right? We just took a bunch of misfits or considered misfits, and they're not going to go to the park, right? So I'm hoping that and that's my goal. Like I'm helping Iron Maple. They had a problem with roof drains, and it wasn't my concern. They had to have the roof drains ready for us, but I said, "Listen, let me make a few phone calls. Let me see if I can find you something that's going to work." It wouldn't work. It didn't meet spec, and I said, "Well, we can put some temporary drains in for you, right?"
Yeah.
So I like to help the GC also solve the problem, right? Like I don't want to, and sometimes I overstep that because I've had so many different experiences, right? So
you got a lot of very well-rounded background.
So I like to go in and help with the problem as well, and
probably usually that's going to be a good thing. Every now and then you get involved in something that
sometimes you're like, oh, why'd I do that? But that's what I want our reputation to be, right? Like these guys come in, do their job, they're on
they care about the whole project.
Right? And they're problem solvers, right? So one of the first things I hashtagged I coined when I come with Jeremy was that I want to provide smart roofing solutions, right? So and that's what we want to do. We want to do the smart way, not just we want to give them something that's a cost-effective, durable system. We want to do it the smart way. We want to do it quick. We want to do it right and get out of there, right? So one of the things we did at the hospital, we brought in. I seen it on a job that 6 or 7 months ago. Instead of trying to bring all of our stuff through the hospital and going through all the proper protocols, we brought in a mini crane. And our crew
through the corridors of the hospital.
Yeah, no, just outside.
Oh, outside. Okay.
Yeah, because the only way to these courtyards was to go through the hospital. Then you had all these protocols you had to go through. You had to clean every day.
So that must have been a little bit of a challenge to have that accepted.
Yeah. It was. So we priced it. I said that's just going to drive the cost up. So we.
Where'd you bring it in from, or who's?
We brought it in Larry's crane out of St. John. They had this mini crane, and you set it up in the air. It takes up a 14 by 14 foot space. It's remote control. We take all of our garbage. Everything's done outside now. We don't even step foot in the hospital.
Right. So you got the crane and the operator. What's like a few $100 an hour probably for that?
It was, but it was no cheaper. It was no more expensive than us hiring a crane to come in 2 or 3 times over the duration of the project to do it. Right. So I mean, we looked at that, and then we said, okay, well, let's not even go in the hospital at all. We put up some staging. We worked with the hospital. They suggested. Worked with them, and I mean, our guys don't go in the hospital. Like we go up the elevator, and we're in the service area, and we're on the roof, and we're done. So that's what I think of as smart roofing systems, right? Like we're looking at ways to help the client and do it efficiently, and get in and get out, and hopefully make some money, but.
Make some money.
Not just hopefully.
No. Right there. Yeah, no, he is. I do that sometimes for a reaction, right? So But no, like I think, and that's what I want us to be known as. So I'm not going in like when I go do Iron Maple, we're going to knock it out of the ballpark for them. But I want that next job. I want them to come to us, and I also want them to be able to come to us and say, "Okay, we got this design build. What do you recommend for a roof?" And be able to say, "Here's what you should put on."
And they're going to think of you when they will make that call.
Yeah. So it's going to be. It's not going to happen overnight, but I mean, we're on a good path, and I think it's within the next year or two, we're going to get those calls, right? We're going to have Marco calling us and saying, "We got this design and build project, but what can we put together for a roof system?" Or we're going to have the Iron Maples or the Birds or whoever, right? Or even the private GCs and say, "What do you recommend?" Right? So hopefully that's the goal. That's the long-term goal. So
did you guys look at anything at the Richmond Yards project? Or?
Richmond Yards, we had priced, put some prices on that. Nice
first
buildings.
3 buildings, the tower.
First 3, yeah. I know we had got a call back on it and just had to relook at our numbers and stuff, but we weren't successful. So, but that's fine. I mean,
you can't do it all. And then you look at a thing like that. There's 8 more buildings that are planned over the next so many years. I think I might be off by a few, but and then
it would probably be pretty amazing to be able to just look into the architects' offices in the city and to be able to see the stuff that they're working on, right? Like whether it's in 1 year or 4 years.
Amazing,
to know what's coming up, it would be mind blowing, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is. I mean, we just have a small pulse on things here, but talk to the WM Fairs architecture team who does a lot of the design for not just the Ferris Group developments, but a lot of other Lebanese community and the developers. And the 177 Towers is probably like 20 some stories up. Now it'll be the tallest building. At first it was Richmond. Now everything's above 30 stories, right? Fenwick at 27 was the highest for a long time. Now everybody's, we broke the 30 mark. There's lots of stuff planned for the Micmac Mall area in the next few years. And that's just like the tip of the, it's pretty insane.
Yeah. We had started making some calls into Ontario and looking at pricing some work there. So,
you have it.
Yeah, we've started it. And so I was up there in Niagara this past week and went downtown Toronto. I lived there, like I said, right out of high school. So I was back in 2000. And
right, so you have some connections.
Yeah, so when I come back from Niagara, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get to the airport this way. And I'm pretty good at remembering roads and highways and whatnot. And you think I could find my way around there? And I mean, I've been back there since, but
don't you feel ashamed though? As a man, when you get lost.
I mean, I recognize the names of the road, but I was like, oh my word. And then to go downtown and see all the buildings that are there in the last 20 years, it's like, it's crazy. Yeah. And so you can see
it's kind of booming too. Yeah. A lot of places outside
Ottawa
the GTA.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mississauga's Mississauga had some really signature buildings there downtown when I was there. I think they just had been getting them finished. And now there's buildings everywhere. There's all kinds of high-rise buildings there.
Yeah.
So I mean the same thing is coming for Nova Scotia. I'm sure that Halifax here, the buildings they're 30-story now. They'll continue to grow.
Yeah, for sure they will. Yeah. Would you send local crew from here out there, or just kind of hire from the pool there?
Yeah, probably
a little bit of both.
I would say a little bit of both.
Yeah,
a little bit of both.
Sense.
Yeah. Send a key guy for a site, and then hire some.
Have that trust level, first.
Yeah, in order to be able to build some teams there.
Yeah. But there's definitely a market there, right? For more players and lots of work.
There's plenty of work, and I think it's your industry, whether it's roofing or whether it's cladding, is that the material costs so much money, and your labor is going to cost so much. And it really comes down to who's busy and who's not busy, and what kind of profit margins people are putting on.
It's not a lot of economies of scale.
I don't think that we're not seeing where, you're coming in, like Jason had said, and we're just buying jobs up, or we're trying to take jobs for nothing. You just fit into that market, and everybody seems to be busy. Like I say, there's buildings going up everywhere. So if I don't get that next job, and somebody else does, then it's the next one that's coming. We're gonna do it. Like, and as
So
labor
true.
shortages continue, and buildings continue to increase, there's always going to be work, right? Like, there's always going to be stuff to do. Yeah. That's something that, Paul Fournier, when I had worked at Vic West, I remember him saying that, the management, so when I worked there, Peter McNabb, I don't know, Peter McNabb, he's
still with
he's not with them anymore.
He's
He's
Mac Metal?
Mac Metal.
Yeah,
Yeah. Peter's awesome. Yeah. But anyway, Paul would always say, because if there was a law where you didn't bid for any work for like 1 week or 2 weeks or something like that, there wasn't any tenders out, and offices getting, head offices getting concerned that there's nobody bidding or whatnot. He's like, the work is going to come. Like, you just have to be patient. The work's going to come.
Like, as a younger contractor, like, I always made a lot of mistakes, but you would get hung up on a job because you really put a lot into it. And you really wanted to get that job, and then you didn't get it, and then like 2 months later, you're like, man, I'm glad I didn't get that job. Like, how did I not see that? I didn't need it.
I'm like that on every tender. That feeling doesn't go away. So no, I've been doing it for, I think this year it's 30 years since I entered the business, like the construction side, and I haven't been unemployed yet. So
there's always
been through some recessions and stuff, but just seems the construction side always seems to continue growing, right? So keeps it going. So, and
Atlantic Canada has always been really kind of steady, right? Like, there's always been this just consistent work. It's not like you're into seems like Nova Scotia now is more inside of a boom, if anything, when you're looking at this construction that's going around, right?
As far as construction is concerned.
It's not, but it's not like, Toronto and Vancouver, where you would have big booms and populations shifting and moving in.
Major swings.
Right. It's always just been a steady thing in Atlantic Canada. There's always been work. You've never really. But now it seems like, especially here in Nova Scotia, it seems like on the construction side, it seems like there's more here than either it's that there's more. Well, there is more here, but it's a combination of that there's more work and there's less workers.
Yes, that's right.
That's really
Yeah, we got to close that gap somehow. We're all in this together.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anything else you either of you, Jason or Jeremy, want to mention before we kind of wrap things up? Anything that you want to for exposure, or just that maybe we didn't talk about? We talked about a lot of things, touched on a lot of stuff. Anything on your mind?
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, we're just it's been a great opportunity. Like I said, Jeremy and I've been in talks maybe now for a year and a half, and it's been great coming on board with Century, great company to work for. So
it seems like in a really good place too. Like, with the diversification, and different scopes and full building envelope, and then different offices in the three provinces. Like, you got a good situation there for where things are at market wise too. It's just about, there's always going to be challenges, but
I mean, on our growth structure and our plans is definitely more for we definitely have big plans for Nova Scotia. We really want to see our office and field teams all equally grow. We deal with over the last 2 years, probably, or 2 years ago, we ended up hiring some students that had come from India and did the construction management program in Moncton. They had an engineering degree in India.
Okay.
So, trying to get their courses approved here, it's been a challenge. They're working through that. But right now, I think in our office in Woodstock and Nova Scotia, I think we have like almost seven people from East India that are working for us. So you had mentioned diversified. We are diversified
in many ways.
In many ways, and we're just looking for talent and skill and if anybody feels that they could be a part or wants to that they could add to Century, our doors are open, and we're looking at for some good people to fill some good seats.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
Well, hopefully there's people tuning in that
Yeah,
that
I'm sure.
mold, or
I'm sure there will.
Could be architects that might consider a single ply option, or developers
Yeah, no.
listening in. So
If they're out there and they want to know about it, give us a shout, right?
Yeah.
Like we have the support team that we have, and not just us, but even the other roofing companies have the same support team that we have, right? Like, but we have from a design point, it's a phone call away. You can bring in. I can bring in Richard Green, which is the Carlisle technical rep for the Atlantic Canada. We can bring in Arrow has Craig Appleyard. They have Mike Appleyard. They have a bunch of guys there that are very knowledgeable in it. Same with here in Nova Scotia. Those guys just love to be able to get in there and work with you, and they've been around it for so long. They just love to get in there and work for. They're like us. They like to be right from the beginning and say, here's what we recommend, and they'll help you put the spec out. And one of the biggest challenges we've found talking to some of the architects and stuff, once you try to give them the alternate option, is, well, we don't want to go back and do all of our details. We have all of our details done, right?
right, yeah, that's tough to do for architects. Right?
Yeah,
Those
so
details,
one of our
catalogs,
so we're doing a big job in Plaster Rock, New Brunswick, and that was one of the comments they come to us was like, yeah, but the savings was so significant they wanted to entertain it, and they said the big challenge was is all of our details are done. I said, yeah. But then I went and told them, I said, you don't have to do that. Carlisle, you go to the Carlisle webpage, they have all their systems, they have all the details, all the, and
you can download the CAD files.
You can download the CAD files, you can download the PDF. So I said, listen, I'll give you guys we'll put that all in as part of our as-builts, right? Like, we'll give you the submittal package. So that's one of the biggest challenges. I said, you have that support, right? So I mean, I see good things. I mean, I know when I started with Jeremy, I had something in mind, and I was a little bit on the lower scale, and Jeremy was up here, and I'm like, my eyes popped open, and I was going to put my resume out again, but I said, this ain't going to work. I'm going to be looking for work in another. Yeah. I said, I'm going to be looking for work in 12 months, but no, we sort of come in the middle, and the first couple of months was like, oh, geez, are we going to pull this off? And I'm always thinking, right? And then all of a sudden the floodgates opened, and we're almost to that threshold now, and I could probably see starting in the fall we might surpass that, right? So like right now we're booked up to the middle of September. You would have asked me that January, February, we would have had this podcast. I would have said, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff that's happening in the century, and we really appreciate the time that and the work that you're doing, and bringing this stuff all to the forefront and the construction. It's awesome to be part of your program.
I appreciate that, Jeremy.
Great.
You as well, Jason. Thanks.
Great opportunity.
Yeah.
My first podcast. So
hey, there you go, man. It's not as hard as it looks.
No.
Yeah, you do a great job.
Yep.
All right, guys. Cheers. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Cook Insurance, your trusted insurance broker in Atlantic Canada for 50 years. Insurance is complex, and the Cook team focuses on delivering comprehensive solutions for your construction needs, including builder's risk, wrap-up liability, performance bonds, and project-specific construction. A Navicord partner since 2020, Cook is one of the largest construction brokers in Canada and offers national strength with a local touch. Whatever your insurance needs are, Cook has you covered.
The team at Atlantic Construction Podcast have been able to build a strong relationship with the folks over at FCA Surety. FCA Surety is heavily engaged in supporting the Atlantic construction marketplace and helping contractors to build their businesses, and we can't recommend them enough. While FCA has their head office in Ontario, many of the members of their team have lived in Atlantic Canada and worked in the construction community here. This gives them a unique national perspective with a local flavor. Andrew Cartwright leads FCA's national surety operations as Vice President of Surety. Their knowledge of the bonding marketplace and understanding of how insurance companies view your business is unparalleled. In addition, the depth of their team and reach across Canada gives them the ability to draw on numerous experiences to help clients navigate items like subtrade, construction disputes, liens, and supplier risk management. These are the things that separate FCA Surety from the pack. Make sure to give the guys a call over at FCA Surety for all of your bonding and surety needs.